Hi everyone, I'm Luis from LuisReviewer.com here, coming to you. I'm gonna do another episode of I do a podcast and a video cast and a video blog, maybe I don't know what to call it. But on this episode, I just wanted to I was watching a movie the other day and I just felt like it was a good subject just to talk about, and so I decided to do a list of my favorite sequels. They are going to be trilogies that are not included because the second entry for me was not as good as either the first or the last. For instance, The Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite films, the trilogy, but the second film, I didn't like it as much as I love the first one and I love Return of the King. So I'm focusing on sequels. That's what I wanted to make clear that because of that there will be some trilogies that will not be mentioned. I'm gonna throw sequels from all genres, so it's not just superhero movies or sci-fi or whatever, even though they might dominate the list. Um, Nowadays it's when you do a movie and the movie makes more than an X amount, you can expect the sequel no matter the film. They will find a way, and there are some that should never have existed. Um, Others are either the same or let down, or are not quite the same, like Coming to America 2. Um, I'm glad it was made. It was fun. I had fun with it, but it didn't have the impact or as comic as the first one. Um, and maybe, but that's another subject. So let's go. I mean, this, and I want to say that this is just my list. I think we all have our favorites and our reasons why. But these are my favorite sequels. And I want to start at number 11 with the Wolverine. The Wolverine is the sequel to the X-Men Origins Wolverine first film, which a lot of people hate. I don't hate the first film. It's not perfect. I think the first half was great. The second half, not so much. But I don't see it as a bad film. But the Wolverine, when I saw it, it surprised me. I love the story. I love the fact that it was in Japan. Um, I love. It was kind of tiring because you wanted to see Wolverine in full force, but it was good for the story that he was that they were taking his powers away. I love that concept of somebody wanting to take that power away from Wolverine, which is one of his best powers. The ability to heal. I thought the movie had great action, had great story. Of course, Hugh Jackman. He's Wolverine for me, and he by that time, I think he could do that character in his sleep. You know, that's just a saying. But I love the Wolverine. I think, and the third and the last one, Logan, was even more amazing. But I think the Wolverine was a big improvement from the first film, and it's still a film that I love seeing. Uh, so I'm gonna start the countdown with that one, um, and I'm gonna go now at number 10 with Shrek 2. I love Shrek 2. Shrek 2 is my favorite of the Shrek franchise. I don't think 3 and 4 add value to it, but the first two films to me are great. The first one is really good, but the second one, I think they just went full blast on tripping in both culture and fairy tale land, and that I loved it. I love the second film. It's funnier, in my opinion. The villains are interesting and funny, charming, and the fairy godmother. I mean everything they do. I mean the white bronco scene and all that, which is the horse. I loved it. I love the second film. Of course, Eddie Murphy and Mike Myers as Shrek and Donkey, and the addition of Antonio Banderas as the cat, just perfect. I thought that was a much funnier film than the first one. Even though the first one I think it's funny, but it's more of a parody of making us laugh at the fairy tale characters. The second one, I think, goes a little bit more uh, with the cultural icons or social or whatever was going on, or and real. Uh, there's a word for it, but I forgot the word. So let's move on. Number nine. When it comes to the MCU, um, I think in the standalone films, to me the best films were Captain America. I mean, yes, Iron Man started it. Yes, Iron Man is the man. But the Captain America films, from the first one to the last one, I think they were the best ones. Um, but the Winter Soldier, what a film! I mean, the Winter Soldier was such an amazing film. It took what I mean, it's just from the action scenes, the story, of course, the characters that were added. Of course, you got Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, but you get the first film with Anthony Mackie as the Falcon. It's just such a good film. It's such a great film. Robert Redford is on it, but it just and the whole Bucky reappearing thing and the drama. I just felt like it's such a great film. I was rewatching those films the other day, and I really enjoyed that one. It's just such a great film. So moving on. I don't want to make this too long of a video. Um, what in terms of big films, you gotta put there the Godfather trilogy. Uh, the first Godfather film, is a classic and an amazing film. But the sequel is one amazing film, and I think they pulled it off because I'm sure they had the pressure of took what worked in the first one and keep the story moving, and they did it. I mean, they did it in such a great way that we get the rise of Vito with the demise of Michael in a way, because Michael Corleone is not in a good place on the sequel, but Vito, we get to see how he rose to became the road to becoming the Godfather. It's an amazing film, of course. The cast, Al Pacino, the Diane Keaton, the whole story, the Cuba thing, the Fredo, the drama, I mean, the changes in Michael's character in this film, because he came from the first film being a little bit naive, or this guy who doesn't want to get involved, to becoming really bad. I mean, he became one bad member of the Corleone family. I mean, really. So, I mean, in those terms, but it's a great sequel, one amazing sequel. So moving on, let's go to number 7, and I'm putting in number 7, Lethal Weapon 2. Lethal Weapon is one of the few franchises where I gotta say that every film is good. I cannot put like a weak film on it. Um, my cat is here. So anyway, Lethal Weapon 2, I think, did something that was very interesting, because the first one was a little bit more serious, but the second one, it kept the integrity of the two characters and made the film maybe more funny, more action, more. But the story remained great. The addition of Joe Pesci. But you still got Riggs in the process of his change. I love the scene where when he finds that they killed them both. The intensity of Mel Gibson's performance. But Lethal Weapon 2, I mean, great movie. At number 6, I'm putting Batman Returns. Batman Returns to me is a perfect sequel. I mean, Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer as the villains, I think they were perfect. I think Tim Burton gave us a great Batman world of this fake Gotham, because it's fake, but it's just the look, the feel, and Penguin is such a character that it just impacts because of his look and all that. I mean, it's just such an amazing thing. And of course, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, she's amazing on it. And Batman to me is still Michael Keaton. Nothing against Ben Affleck or Christian Bale. I love them both. But I love Batman Returns. I mean, it was such a. I mean, it still holds on today. I mean, I still see Batman the first one, and as much as I love it and Jack Nicholson, there are some things that just I don't know. But the second film to me is still just an amazing movie. So moving on to number five, I'm putting X-Men United. I mean, the first X-Men, I think they made it kind of, let's see how it goes because it was an hour and a half. And for X-Men United, they pulled it all off. I mean, for the first scene where Nightcrawler is on the White House, from the whole storyline where the mutants they're trying to get rid of mutants and or they're experimenting with the Striker. In that scene in the mansion where Wolverine takes all the soldiers, if you want to shoot me, shoot me. That scene, it's an amazing movie. I think it's a great story, great performances by the cast, great special effects. It was a great film. Moving on now, number four for me, Spider-Man II. The original, the Sam Raimi trilogy. The first two Spider-Man films, still today, to me, great. They're better than the MCU Spider-Man's films. But the second one, it just stands out. It has a great story, based on the story where Peter is losing his powers. The fight scenes with Doctor Octopus still look great. The whole train scene. The only thing that now I see them and kind of gets me a little bit down, is maybe the Peter Parker side. I think if you take Andrew Garfield's take of Peter Parker and put him on those Sam Raimi films, and I have nothing against Tobey Maguire, he did great as Spider-Man, in the films. But anyway, Spider-Man 2, it was a great story. It was such a great film. The special effects, and the first one was amazing. The second one was even better. So that's what you look in the sequel, to be even better than the first one. And I think in this one, they achieved it. At number three, I'm going. This is the only one making two appearances. Well, if you count Wolverine and X-Men, he also made two. I'm talking about Batman, and I'm talking about The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan's trilogy of Batman is has to be among the best films ever. I think he took the superhero genre and made it a serious in a way, and gave us such a great films. But when you take The Dark Knight, what a second film. Of course, the highlight is Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker. I mean, from the first scene that Heath appears, he takes over the film, and you cannot take your eyes off of what he's doing with this character. And what Nolan does is doesn't give you like this superhero action, but it has action. Visually, it looks great. Batman, I like Christian Bale as Batman. I like Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, all those characters. But it's a great man, and it's one of the best sequels ever. Dark Knight, great film. At number two, I'm going with The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars Episode 5. I was seeing this film yesterday, and I have to say that the first Star Wars was of course was a great film, a great adventure. But when you get The Empire, I think George Lucas was more confident, and we get better visuals, right from the first scenes on the ice and all that. Better character development. I love the chemistry between Luke, Han, and Princess Leia, and Chewbacca. Of course, Darth Vader. We get to see more Darth Vader, even though he's the main villain in the first film too. The story progresses, and but it still retains the fun adventure part of it. So I believe it's just still one of the best Star Wars films, in my opinion. Is Episode 5. It has everything. It has drama, comedy, action. Visually, it looks great, and great film. And at number one, and I'm putting this is the film that got me into thinking about what other sequels, and it's Terminator 2, Judgment Day. To me, after Terminator 2, no other Terminator films exist. This was the perfect ending, and the rest of the Terminator films. The third one was not bad, but man, they have gone downhill. But Terminator 2 is a perfect film for me. I mean, to this day, I still love it. I mean, the special effects, the story. The first film was more of a horror, suspense, sci-fi film. This one still had that because the T-1000, played by Robert Patrick, really kept you tense. But it gave you a little bit more of a deep story, a more human story in the relationship with the Terminator and the kid. And of course, Linda Hamilton's character now was stronger, and it gave it a lot of another edge to the film. It has an amazing story visually, amazing, and to this day, still one of my favorite films. And when it comes to making a big jump from the first one to the second one, I think this one really was a big change, and it made the series even better. Those first two films are just great. So anyway, those are my list. I hope to talk to you on the next video, and hope take care, and let's keep watching movies.